So could you tell us a little bit to all of us who's watching this podcast, what is it about? And yeah,
The slow food movement?
yeah.
Oh, well, I interned with them when I was living in New York City. I was like a communications intern, and well, basically they're an international organization that is trying to promote sort of they're sort of trying to promote like stepping back into time where we sourced more of our food locally, and we took more time to cook, and food and cooking was more highly valued than it is now, in which fast food is really prevalent now, and that leads to health issues, and it's sort of a fucked up industry in terms of animal welfare and all these things. So their approach is that we can solve a lot of social, political, economic issues through the lens of food.
Hmm.
And their whole thing is like, let's participate in activism around that issue, but like let's do it with joy, because kind of cooking and food is like a joyful act, is sort of like a celebratory thing. So that's their whole kind of thing, is like, if we have a joyful celebratory activism around food and politics, that will be more somehow it'll be sustained more, because we're not like getting depressed about it and burning out. So that's basically what it's about. It started in Italy by a guy, Carlo Petrini, who was part of the Communist Party there. And he was sort of like anti-establishment, anti-industrialization. And yeah, he basically started that. It came out of the Communist Party.
Yeah,
Um,
so just to also give some context, we were in Italy, and I think that's where you like heard about it, right?
yeah, I first heard about it when we were over in Italy. I don't really know where I heard about it from, but me and two other students, we did like a documentary project where we interviewed some people who were a part of the slow food movement over there. We interviewed farmers, we interviewed chefs, we interviewed activists, various people, asking them about it, kind of getting their perspective on it.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
quick question, bro. Do you still have that documentary? Because it was actually really good. I saw it and I remember
thanks.
how good it was.
I think it's on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
I think
Yeah.
we called it. I can look it up. We called it "To Fight with Pleasure." Um,
I'm curious to see how many views you guys got.
to fight with. I'm looking it up.
Because we still don't know how many views we're gonna have.
Oh, there it is. We got 113 views.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah, you can just search "To Fight with Pleasure," and it's the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, we gotta attach the link in the
Yeah, link will
description.
be in the description.
All right, link will be in the description. However, I do want to provide a little bit of my thinking that I think has evolved a little bit since I was a part of that. And since I then went back to New York City, I interned with them. And I think that they're an interesting organization that is, they're trying to reform. They're trying to reform the system, but they're not really trying to revolutionize the system. They're not a radical group. They're not looking for radical systemic change. It's sort of more about like slow, subtle, alternative reform. So that would be my one critique, is that they're a little bit elitist in some ways. I think mostly in the US. I mean, I don't mean to badmouth slow food. Slow food, I had a great experience working with you, but I do think that there is some elitism there that y'all are aware of that, just needs to be taken into account. Because basically in the US, eating well and using local ingredients and cooking slowly and taking your time, it's all well and good, but that's very expensive.
Yeah.
And the United States there's a lot of inequality here, and there's a small amount of people who can afford to live the slow food life. but the vast majority don't have fucking time or money to do that.
That's
So
right.
it's a little bit, it's limited because not everyone can do that. What I will say though is I got involved with slow food when I moved to Thailand, and I tapped into the slow food community over there. And in some ways, I think it's quite a different movement in that context because it's been really picked up by indigenous communities, and they're using it as a banner to unite and to sort of promote their own agriculture and their own products and their own like indigenous identity. So I think that's really cool. So in Thailand, I saw it like working in a really cool way. Maybe it's elitist in its own Thai way that I don't understand. That's possible. But from my perspective, it was like, this is cool. This is like supporting rural communities, and it's providing young people with pride for their rural village that produces coffee. And like, because they have this pride, they're going to come back to the village and continue farming coffee and keep this tradition going, as opposed to leaving for the city and, you know, never looking back or whatever. So
Like, is it expensive to sustain that kind of lifestyle in Thailand? Like, to be in that movement?
no, and I think that's part of it. I think that's definitely part of it. Yeah. I think that in general, just in Thailand, everything, including food, is much, much cheaper. And people are already, like, the agricultural traditions are not far away. Like, Thailand only industrialized in the beginning in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. 70s.
As opposed to the United States, which started industrializing in the late 19th century. So like they still have strong connections to the land and to their agricultural traditions, and they're very proud of that. And they definitely are having the issue that I think the whole world is having, of young people who are on the internet and who see other lifestyles and who are called to like have higher paying jobs in cities, that they're leaving the villages and perhaps not coming back to work the land. And I think that's what the slow food movement in Thailand, a lot of it is about getting young people involved with food and agriculture, and having it, you know, creating a network and a community where that's an appealing future for them. Because the food has to come from somewhere, you know?
Yeah. You know, just a random thought I just had. I was just like, you know what would make young people want to be farmers? Marijuana. Just like literally, like I would love to work on a farm if I could just smoke weed all day. Like,
yeah,
no question. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to call anyone out, but a lot of the Thai farmers I know are growing a lot of pot. So you're onto the right track. Tarek, I worked on a pot farm in December for about a month. And so if you're interested, I have connections, but we can talk about that.
Look at that.
We can talk about
Fedor,
that.
This is how America works, Fedor.
Yeah, I'm looking.
We can network post.
Right. After hours, you know.
After hours. But I do have a sweet little ganja world I could hook you up with.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah.